that's what...
Yes, I am saying that. And to imagine that anyone would say that racism is making them make the wrong choices. I mean, imagine the rabbit hole you just went down of self-loathing. Racism is making me do the wrong choice. In other words, there is no me. There's no me here. All there is the forces that are acting on me, making me do the wrong choice. You can't stand up. You can't stand up straight because racism is, come on, that's despicable. That's disgusting.
Hey guys, welcome to Critical African Thinkers. Don't you just love it when Glenn Loury gets really passionate? I find Glenn Loury to be very passionate and animated when he talks with John McWhorter. So I'm going to react to one of the videos of him being very passionate. In this video, he talks about the effect of Trump on the rise of anti-black racism. And he was sort of disagreeing with John, who was taking the position that Trump sort of added to the rise of anti-black racism in America. But before we go into the video, if you like what we're doing in this channel, why don't you go right ahead and click that like button, click the subscribe button. More importantly, why don't you go over to Amazon to pick up my crime fiction novel. It's a crime fiction novel, but it also features a debate on race and colonialism and some of the issues that we'll talk about on this channel. So you can find the link in the description and in the comment section below. So let's get into the video.
I mean, Glenn, though, wouldn't you say, what a lot of people say is that the number of explicitly racist groups has gone up since Trump was elected. And many people say that's
follow the Southern Poverty Law Center. I'm sure that that's true. Do I think that Trump has presided over a restitution or a resurrection of anti-blackness? No, I don't think that. And
well, what would you say to somebody who said
I don't see that. I don't see that. In fact, I see just the opposite. I see the rise of Black Lives Matter. I see the election of Barack Obama. I see the coronation of Michelle Obama. I see LeBron James. I see Oprah Winfrey. Now I see the National Book Award. I see the New York Times. Are you kidding me? An era of the rise of anti-black racism. I see a college campus. No, people have their careers canceled for saying the wrong thing about blackface in this country. As Shelby Steele said.
Now here is where it gets really interesting.
Shelby Steele said right here, not long ago, there's not enough racism. There's an insufficient amount of injustice. People have to make up affronts. They invented, So systemic racism, anti-black racism, they are on the hunt. It's the theory now is no one had to actually do an anti-black thing. The system is anti-black, which invites an interrogation of what the cause of the various disparities are that we see in the world. Whereas the system arguing people actually never have to tell you. All they have to do is cite the disparity. Kids have lower test scores. That must be a failure of the system.
Yeah, and that's basically the whole thing about Ibram X. Kendi. He just looks at disparity and says, well, the disparity exists, then it has to be racism. It doesn't even try to understand, okay, what are the possible causes of this, root causes of this disparity. Once there's a disparity, it has to be racism.
Mm-hmm. It's all a bluff, John, because a careful interrogation of all these areas will inevitably leave one with a substantial amount of weight, resting on the extent to which people themselves are managing their lives, raising their families, starting their businesses, and doing the things that are required to be effective in this society. Jails teeming with black people is an indication of the failure of the system? No. Perhaps the system should be reconfigured in light of the fact that the jails are full. Perhaps you want less penalties, perhaps you want more programs, this, that, or the other. But the first order inference from the fact that I see crime and punishment at an outsized level in a certain community is that there are failures in the developmental processes of that community that leaves criminals preying on people. That's what I think. When I see a school gap, you look at the National Assessment of Educational Progress, which measures 4th, 8th, and 12th grade kids' reading and math proficiency. And the fraction of black kids who are at below basic proficiency in their performance on these exams is stunning and vastly higher than the fraction of white kids. You know, just let me finish this, and I will, to say that that's just systemic racism. Mm-hmm. What it is black kids are not being developed to their full human potential. Now we can begin to have a conversation about why, but the home life is going to have a lot to do with that. Parenting is going to have a lot to do with that. Values, what they hold up as an ideal for a good way of life. People are making choices. Take those choices away from them. You reduce them to chits on a board. They're making choices. And when you have such disparities as profoundly large and persistent as what I'm talking about right here, there are a lot of black people making the wrong choices.
And not because racism is making them do it, you're saying?
Now, often enough, one part of the conversation that is always missing in the outcomes of people is personal responsibility. To what extent does personal responsibility contribute to the outcome of anybody? Is it a majority? Is it minority? If you want to put in terms of percentages, is it less than 50%? Is it more than 50%? Is it less than 20%? I don't know what exactly that percentage is, but I think that most of the time that factor itself gets taken out of the conversation, which to me is the most important contributing factor. Because I have seen cases where people, despite their disadvantaged position, despite the challenges, they've been able to rise above their station in life. By personal effort, by determination, by hard work, by commitment. So I have the feeling that personal responsibility is a much more important contributing factor to the success or the outcome of anybody than any other issues that are external to the individual, which is not talked about very often.
Well, that's what. Yes, I am saying that. And to imagine that anyone would say that racism is making them make the wrong choices. I mean, imagine the rabbit hole you just went down of self-loathing. Racism is making me do the wrong choice. In other words, there is no me. There's no me here. All there is the forces that are acting on me, making me do the wrong choice. You can't stand up. You can't stand up straight because racism is, come on, that's despicable. That's disgusting.
I really agree with Glenn in this position. We can find ourselves in a situation where we have been dealt a very bad hand, but it is not justification. It is not an excuse for errant or negative behavior. But in any case, anybody who does something wrong and blames it on oppression or blames it on racism, they're not doing themselves any good, because they're not looking at themselves, they're not looking at their behavior, they're not looking at their individuality, they're not looking at their independence as a human being to be able to make a choice. They have given up that human dignity and just blamed it on something external, that I'm powerless in this situation. There's nothing I could have done in this situation, which is not the case for human beings. Human beings have conquered the world. I mean, from the beginning of the world, it wasn't this rosy. It was a terrible experience for people all over the world. But today we have cars, we have airplanes, we have so much luxury. We could as well just say that we've been dealt a bad hand by nature and remain in our huts. But look at the technological developments that humans, despite the vast challenges that we as humans have faced, we've been able to break through. So being in a bad environment is really not an excuse for doing bad things. That's what I'm just saying. Well, that's the video. You can see that Glenn was very, very passionate about what he was saying here, and I just love it when he gets passionate like this, because he brings that emotion to life. He knows how to bring words to life. So tell me what you think in the comment section below, and until next time, remain awesome. If you like what we're doing in this channel, why don't you go over to Amazon to pick up my crime fiction novel. It's a crime fiction novel, but it also features a debate on race and colonialism and some of the issues that we talk about on this channel. So you can find the link in the description and also in the comment section below.